If you're even thinking about buying a new home, you're probably obsessed with interest rates, right? But what if I told you a major decision from the Supreme Court could be a huge hidden factor in that final price tag? Let's break down this surprising link between the nation's highest court and the cost of building a house. With housing affordability just feeling impossible for so many, this is the million-dollar question. Could a court ruling finally give us some relief? For a little while there, it really seemed like the answer might be yes. And here's where that little glimmer of hope came from. See, the Supreme Court is taking a hard look at the legality of these really broad tariffs from the last administration. The idea was simple. If the court overturns them, the cost of all sorts of imported goods, from car parts to, yes, construction materials, could finally come down. What's really wild is just how fast all this happened. This wasn't some slow drip. It was like, bam. Within just a few months, huge tariffs got slapped on steel, copper, lumber, even kitchen cabinets. You know, not exactly luxury add-ons. We're talking about the actual bones of a new house. Okay, but here's the twist. And honestly, it's a really big one. The specific case that's in front of the Supreme Court, it's probably not going to touch the tariffs that hit the construction industry the hardest. And that one little legal detail has massive consequences for anyone looking to build or buy a home. So what is going on here? How is that possible? Well, it all comes down to which law was used to create which tariff. It's basically a tale of two different laws, and understanding the difference is key to why this court case is, well, kind of missing the mark for home builders. All right, first up, we've got the law that is actually being challenged. It's called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPEA for short. This was the legal tool used for those really broad, sweeping tariffs on goods from tons of different countries. So to be clear, this is the law the court is looking at right now. But what about the tariffs on the big stuff, like steel and lumber? Well, those were put in place using a completely separate law, Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act. This one allows for tariffs on goods that are considered vital for national security. And here's the real kicker. The Supreme Court has already said no thanks to hearing challenges against this law. So let's just lay it all out, side by side. The law the court is actually debating is over here on the left. But the law that's really propping up all those construction tariffs, that's over on the right. So the bottom line is pretty clear. The big legal fight that's getting all the headlines isn't going to do a thing about the tariffs that are jacking up the cost of building a home. So, knowing that those Section 232 tariffs are pretty much here to stay, what does that actually mean for the price of materials? Let's take a look at the specific costs that are sticking around. I mean, just look at these numbers. They're pretty staggering. We're talking about a 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and copper, a 45% total duty on Canadian softwood lumber, and that's most of the lumber we import. Even your kitchen cabinets are getting hit with a tariff that's set to double. All of those costs have to go somewhere, and you can bet they end up baked into the final price of a new house. And you know, it gets even more complicated. An analyst at Moody's Analytics, Christian Doritis, pointed out that even if the court strikes down those other tariffs, the administration could just use Section 232 as a fallback to bring them right back. So any relief we might see could be gone in a flash. Okay, that's enough policy talk. Let's get to what really matters, the money. What does all of this actually do to the price tag on a new home? Well, the impact on raw materials was pretty much immediate. After the tariffs were announced, the price for aluminum shot up to a record high of over $4,800 a ton. Now, that's a cost that doesn't just stop with the manufacturer. It gets passed down the chain all the way to the home buyer. So how does a spike in aluminum translate into the price of a house? Well, industry leaders started sounding the alarm pretty fast. You can see here, one big homebuilder CFO estimated a $1,500 increase per home. Then their CEO said, actually, it's probably closer to $5,000. But the National Association of Home Builders, their forecast is way, way higher. $10,000. That's the potential extra cost to build just one new home, according to the NAHB. For so many families out there, an extra 10 grand isn't just an annoyance, that is the down payment. That's literally the difference between buying a home and renting for another year or another decade. And this is really where the numbers stop being just numbers and become about people's lives. This isn't just some abstract economic debate. It's about who gets pushed out of the housing market completely, making that gap between who can afford a home and who can't even wider. And this final stat from the NAHB is just mind-blowing. For every single $1,000 increase in the price of a home, More than 100,000 potential buyers are priced out of the market. So if these tariffs add $10,000 to the cost, well, you do the math. That's over 1 million families who suddenly can't afford to buy. So, while all the headlines are focused on this big Supreme Court case, the tariffs that are directly pumping up construction costs are still on the books, untouched. And it leaves us with a really critical question. Who is ultimately going to carry the cost of building a new home?